I wish somebody would open up their mouth and give God praise in here. It's my season for release. Fresh anointing shall increase. It's my season for release. Anybody believe that? Fresh anointing shall increase. You say
it's my season.
That's the whole thing. Sing it, family.
For release.
Fresh anointing.
Fresh anointing shall increase.
Yeah, yeah.
It's my season for release.
Fresh anointing.
Fresh anointing
shall
increase.
With long life, and glory, prosperity shall increase. With long life, and glory, prosperity shall increase. Everybody lift your voice and hey. Come on, say it. It's my season for release. You know, fresh anointing shall increase. Can we give you praise for you being a good God? For release. Fresh anointing. No more delay on us, family. Shall increase. Say it. Say long life. Long life. He's giving you glory. And glory. He's giving you prosperity. Prosperity. What it's going to do, say.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 980 AM WDDO Perry Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Good afternoon, Middle Georgia. It's time for the Middle Georgia Spotlight with your host, Macon, Georgia's former mayor, C. Jack Ellis. Tune in to engage in discussions of the issues of today, yesterday, and tomorrow. Let's go into the studio with former mayor, C. Jack Ellis.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Middle Georgia Spotlight on the radio. And boy, I tell you, I really enjoyed Sister Elaine Lucas, Commissioner Elaine Lucas. I call her sister because she is my sister, because she does the right thing all the time. And Brother George Muhammad, who also is my brother. And I really appreciate them and the information that they brought forth. And I hope that some of you stuck around to hear what we have to say. We're waiting for Senator David Lucas, who happens to be the other half of, well, he's his own man and she's her own woman, so I don't want to get into that, but that's her husband and that's his wife. And we're waiting for him to come in, but that's what we call a power couple in Macon, Georgia, probably throughout the state of Georgia. A real power couple. So we thank you all for watching the Middle Georgia Spotlight on television every Tuesday and every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and Saturday evening at 8 p.m. and on Tuesday evening at 8:30 p.m. And the show can be viewed on Cox Cable, Channel 112, WMUB, Channel 38 over the air, and Watson Suburban Cable, Channel 15, Com South Cable, Channel 12, Reynolds Cable, Channel 112, and Flint Cable, Channel 7. I think that's over there in somewhere in Houston County, I think. But we appreciate you all watching the show. I appreciate you all supporting the show. And, of course, the show is made possible every week by, now we have a new sponsor, both on the radio and on television, Adams, Jordan, and Harrington's law firm. Virgil Adams, longtime Macon resident, came from the projects. Young man, as they say, homeboy that's made good. So we want you to patronize Jordan, Adams, Jordan, and Harrington for all of your legal needs. And, of course, the Mutual Financial Group, Mr. Billy Pitts, another friend and a supporter, and I appreciate him. both here on the radio as well as on Cox Cable, Middle Georgia Spotlight on television, I should say. And my dear sister, my blood sister, same mother, same father, Dot's Forget Me Not. Ms. Dot Ridley, who is the proprietor there, nice clothes for women, for all of your needs there on Cherry Street. There were a time, Negroes couldn't be on Cherry Street unless it was, before dark. Dark catch you got to get off of Cherry Street. And but now she owns a business, not only business owned a building there on Cherry Street. So proud of her because from whence we came, we both, she or I, could not have imagined ourselves owning anything on Cherry Street. And I know I could not have imagined myself as a mayor as a young boy growing up out in rural Bibb County. But God has plans, and we have to make sure we be receptive and open to those plans. So Dot's Forget Me Not, we want you to support her. And J. Franklin Automotive, my good friends out at J. Franklin Automotive, they're on Riverside Drive near Pierce Avenue. A lot of good cars, and we want you to go and patronize J. Franklin Automotive. He'll give you a good deal. He was telling me the other day that cars are more expensive now than they've ever been because of these chips that you can't make new cars, so people can't buy new cars. They're holding on to the old cars. So used cars now sky high. You're paying more, just like houses. You're paying more. So if you want to sell a house, I think this is the time to sell it. If you want to buy a car, now is not the time to buy one. It's the time to sell one. But if you want to sell a car, now is the time to sell one because there are very few. And the prices are very, very high. I was in the car business at one time, and I wonder how this is going to work because cars have a certain value. Normally they depreciate. They don't appreciate. But they're telling me now cars are being sold for more than the value of them. So, yeah, I advise you, don't get caught in that because 3 years from now, the car will only be what it's worth, what they call the actual cash value. And the insurance company is never going to pay more than the actual cash value unless you have a gap, what they call a gap insurance. So you got to be careful when you pay too much for a pre-owned automobile, even with the Carfax, because it's still going to be what it's worth. But when you're trying to sell something, as they say, it's worth whatever to fetch. So, but you have to be careful. We know that real estate always appreciates. Very seldom does it depreciate unless you're in our community and you being redlined like some of the things that are like redlining is going on right now in our communities. There are a lot of people think that their homes are worth more than they're worth. Now, if it's worth more, someone will pay you for it. But when you get an appraisal, that's what it's in normal times. That's what it's worth. If people don't want to pay more than an appraisal, but now they're paying more than the appraised value if you are quote unquote in the right zip code or in the right neighborhood. I think every neighborhood is the right neighborhood if it's your neighborhood. So don't fall for the okie doke. Don't let anyone steal your property because they're saying, "Oh, over here, house has been selling for $50,000." Well, that's right because it was designed that way. When we came out of this, what do you call it? Not the pandemic. We are still in that. But when we came out of the recession, the real estate market meltdown in 07, 08, 09, if you notice that in certain neighborhoods, real estate came back relatively quickly. By 2010, some people in certain neighborhoods in certain parts of this county, they were back to where they were having equity. There were other neighborhoods, and I'm sitting in the middle of one of them right now called Napier Heights, where this studio is located, where churches are located, Pastor Glover's church, Zion Hill located. These houses, once upon a time, had high appraisals. But after that meltdown, and people were getting half of the appraisals that they were getting for their houses prior to the recession in this neighborhood. But other neighborhoods, they were getting more than they were getting before. So it was a major transfer of wealth from one community to another right in this city. We talk about wealth transfer and wealth inequality and income inequality. Your home, most of us, especially African Americans, and I realize that not all African Americans are listening to this station. but I realize there are some Caucasians. Hopefully, there are some Indians and Asians and Puerto Ricans and Mexicans and everyone else is welcome. Everyone else, you're welcome to listen here. But we're just going to tell it like it is. In this town, the divide has always been between black and white. That's been the divide in economics. That's been the divide in education. That's been the divide in home ownership. That's been the divide and a whole lot of things going back from the beginning of this city. And we are getting ready to celebrate our 200th anniversary next year, 1823. You may as well say next year because the county will celebrate 1822 and then the city 1823. But let me tell you, it's only 2 days apart. The county was founded at the end of 1822. So when you see 1822, it wasn't January 1822. It was founded the end of 1822. And lo and behold, the next day or 2 days later, the city of Macon was chartered as the what do you call it? Not the capital city, but the county seat of Bibb County. So we share birthdays, maybe 2 days apart, 2 or 3 days apart. So we are celebrating our 200th anniversary next year. And we got to make sure that our story gets told, the African-American story in this town. It hasn't been told. It wasn't told at the centennial. If you go back and look at go to the library, I heard Sister Elaine and heard Brother George speak about the young lady down at the Washington Street Library, Miss Jackson, I think her name, genealogy department down there. If you go down, I've done a lot of research down there because I'm writing a book, and I do a lot of research because I want to see how far my family went back here and when were they sold and when were they bought. And my great grandmother was sold to Macon in 1856, 1857, I think it was, as a 14-year-old girl, sold from Virginia, walked all the way, so many others, all the way to Macon. My great-grandmother, that's my father's grandmother, and my grandfather's mother was sold, was a slave in this town, and worked for free. And so did my great-grandfather, but I don't have my great-grandfather's name. I have my great-grandmother's last name, Ellis. Why? Because he was owned by another family. And my great-grandmother was owned by a guy by the name of John Ellis, who paid top dollars for her. And a 14-year-old girl is a house girl. We know what that means. When she was here and gave birth to 6 children during slavery. And the 7th one was my grandfather, who was born shortly after slavery, 1868. We heard George and Brother George Muhammad speak of 1865. That's when we finally got our freedom here in Macon. And April of 1865 at Tatton Square Park. That's where we were finally surrendered. They finally surrendered after all 2 years of resisting. And Macon has always resisted. I wonder why would white people always resist things? They resisted the bus, us getting on the front of the bus. Montgomery was 1955. The Supreme Court ruled that it's outlawed that segregation and public transportation. You can't do it anymore. But we were still struggling around here, 62, 63, still fighting to get on the front of the bus. Supreme Court ruled 1954, no more segregated schools. It's over. The law of the land. You must get rid of it with all deliberate speed, they say. But yet, 1968, 1970, before we finally integrated schools here, resist. And we cannot allow people to resist anymore. I heard them talk about the money that's coming here for this COVID. We know that COVID has affected us more than any other group, African Americans, poor people. And that money has been allocated to this city, to this county, this school board, based on demographics, and based on those demographics that's been mostly affected by this COVID, happens to be African American people. So now this money is coming, $100 million to the school board, 78 or 80 million. That's a lot of money to the county. And we're the majority of the population. How many of you have been asked, how should we spend this money? This money should go where the money is needed most. And we know where that money is needed mostly. It's mostly needed in the African American community. Home ownership, affordable houses. We have we talked about, certain neighborhoods. We do own some properties. They're not as valuable as some others, but they're valuable to us. But in real dollars and cents, they're not as valuable. But less than 40% of the Black people in Macon own a home. It's right about 38%, maybe 40 now with maybe some people, if they weren't buying before, they sure can't buy now if you're on the margin, because things is just out of the sky, going through the roof, if you will. So, and the point I want to make is that we have got to police ourselves. We got to make sure that we don't accept this red line, and we have to make sure that we don't accept these poor and undervalued appraisers that that banks are saying, oh, your house is only worth this. The appraiser said this, so therefore I can't refi you. You can't get, you don't have $10,000 worth of equity that you thought you had. But we got to push back on that. We can't just say, okay, sorry, I didn't know. No, we have to push back. If the tax assessors, and my good friend Billy Pitts now is on that board, and I've had this conversation with him, and I congratulated him for being appointed to that board, because we all know that Billy's going to do what? He's going to always do the right thing. But like I said to him the other day, some of us are paying more taxes. Our houses are paying more taxes on our houses than they're worth. With the tax value is more than the appraised value. So in other words, you're kind of upside down, if you will. Underwater. You're paying, the county goes out and says, oh, this house is worth $80,000. This is worth $90,000. Tax value, $150,000. Then you go get an appraiser, and it's, oh, this house is only worth $50,000, not $100,000 that you're paying taxes. We can't accept that anymore. We've got to say to the county, wait a minute, something is wrong here. You've had this reevaluation, but yet our houses are not bringing this type of money that we are paying taxes for, and we are mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. And that's what we have to say. And I use that word because we use that word interchangeably. It's not a curse word, because if you don't do right, and I'm here in the church, and so that's where the studio is set up temporarily, but they're getting ready to move across the street. Isn't it fantastic? I'm 75 years old, and I know there are members of the community listening much older than I am, some much younger. But isn't it, I can remember when we didn't have a Black radio station, a Black-owned radio station. We didn't have a Black-owned newspaper. Maybe we had a Black-owned newspaper. I think we've always had a minority-owned newspaper, but we didn't have minority-owned radio station. They would give us 2 or 3 hours a day when I was growing up. Maybe on WBML, they would give you 2 or 3 hours a day. But at any rate, if I think we have a call coming in, and if you want to call us, by the way, the number is 478-250-1444. Hello, you're on the air.
Jack Ellis, this is David Lucas, man. I had to apologize. I'm out here working this show.
But that's okay. Well, I'm glad you called in. Now that we can do virtual stuff now. You don't have to be sitting. You don't have to be sitting right in front of people to get your point across. And people are listening to you all over the world, right here on this blowtorch called WDDO. But David, let me thank you so much for calling in. And I was expecting you, but as long as I hear your voice, that's the most important thing. I saw you the other day, so I've seen you a couple of times in the last 2 weeks, so I don't need to see you. And I see you on Sunday. And I see you on Sunday with everyone else. But let me you're doing this Soul Jam Fest. You've been doing it for what, 21, 22 years now?
This will make 21. Actually, we've been doing it 26 years. We did 5 years. We call it Flashback, and it didn't work out. I was in a partnership with guys in Atlanta, and they used to do the show on Saturday, and I bring it to Macon on Sunday. And what they did, they finally told me, said, "Look, we're not gonna come to Macon to lose money. We'll make money in Atlanta, then come to Macon lose money." I said, "Okay." And then I went and worked at it and got with Bill Distributors, which is Budweiser, and we got worked out as they were a major sponsor. then to give me a chance to try to get the other sponsorships in. And we've been doing it for 21 years. This will make 21 years.
Well,
last year, the pandemic hit us.
Yeah.
And try to rearrange everything because all the acts were paid half their money. That's the only way you can get them.
Yeah.
And then we turned around and got them to agree to the date. So they are coming to make that date up from last year.
Yeah. Well, that's a long time. 21 years. I can attest to that. I spent 21 years in the military. When you said 21, I said, boy, that was a long time. That, of course, a couple of wars thrown in between, it becomes very, very long. But David, let me, now you've been in, we're going to talk a little bit more about Soul Jam. So the tickets are what now? The tickets are $40 at the gate or $40 in advance?
No. They're 40 in advance. You can get them at overtime and touchdowns in Macon.
Okay.
And of course, and if you're in the Dublin area, you can get it at Kenny's Barbershop. If you're in Warner Robins, you can get it at Jacko's Hair Force. If you listening down Albany way, you can get them at Odyssey Records. If you're in Sandersville, you can get them at Kunta Records. And then, just like I say, if you're in Dublin, you can get them at Kenny's. And then if you in Forsyth, you can get them at Juanita's.
Oh, so there's no excuse. You can get them in a lot of places, or you can get them at the gate if you want to spend a couple more bucks. You get them at the gate.
Yeah.
Well, who are we paying to see, David? With this $40, what do we get him for our $40?
You're getting Rolls Royce, Sir Charles.
Okay, two big ones.
Nellie Travis, Ronnie Bell. For those that don't recognize the name, that's the guy that sings the tune "I'll Pay the Shipping Cost." And then we got three local acts. We got Bo Putnam, who back in the day sang with Otis Red and competed with Otis Red.
Yes.
They used to have these shows. We have a new guy by the name of Hal Davis, who played in several bands, but he has a stepping tune out. And then, of course, we have Mike Hagerbrook. It's Just Friends. He's well known. He plays a lot for a lot of gatherings and stuff.
Yeah.
So those will be the three local acts. People ask, I'm not singing this year. I didn't put a band together. What I decided to do through the pandemic was try to work this thing out and get this show done.
Well, congratulations on 21 years, David. So now the show starts. What time? The gates open.
Showtime is at 3 o'clock. The gates open at 1. If you want to get a tent, you have to be there 7 o'clock in the morning at Henderson Stadium. That's when we set up the tent.
Now, do you get a tent by just showing up? Do you have to bring some money? Do you have to pay for the tent?
No. You have to pay for the tent.
Oh, okay. And how much is that? Do you know? Or is that someone else's deal?
Yeah, that's $25.
$25 for a tent all day. And how many people can sit underneath that tent? If I were to I can't bring a whole family and Junebug and Grandma and them and how many people?
Well, there's some folks that have 2 tents. They had a whole family. A lot of folks have almost made it a family reunion.
Yes.
It's not a kids show, but a lot of folks came and brought their kids. There are no kid tickets.
Yeah. But even though you say it's not a kid show, it's a clean, fun show. It's no nonsense. I've heard you say that if you want to go to jail real quick, show up at acting foolish at your event.
Well, there's no question. There's no question about it. It's a business.
Yeah.
And I've gotten too old to run now. So, I've got folks my age, some folks 80 years old, that come to enjoy themselves. And if young folks want to understand and go out and have a good time and not have a bunch of foolish, then they come Soul Jam and see how we do it.
Yeah. Well,
we don't have all that fighting and going. That we're not going to have all that.
Yeah. Speaking of young people and foolishness that's going on, your day job, if you will. When I say your day job, the hat that you wear most proudly is that of a state senator as a political leader. As a political leader in our town, and I know you noticed what I noticed, that we have some of our young people, not so young people, just gone stark raving mad, if you will, buck wild and what they used to call buck wild and some crazy with the shooting and hurting people. What's happening here? How are we going to fix it?
the only somebody can fix it is us. Those of us who are in political position, we do our best. But law enforcement, you get mad with law enforcement. But it's time out. These young folks are killing folks. And what they fail to realize is when they kill these folks, they got loved ones too. And they'll mourn. But not only that, they're looking at jail time.
Two families just torn apart otherwise.
And there's no question about it. It's almost like I heard Ellis Smith preach one time. And he talked about, he said, we don't love one another. For some reason, we don't love one another. And this foolishness got to stop. We've got to put our foot down. Parents, you got to do some parenting. If you were young when you had a kid, then what you have to do, you have to become mature to raise that kid. Yeah. You got some single parents. A kid get in trouble at school, the parent go there to raise hell with the teacher and everybody.
Yeah.
There are two sides to the story. Right. But when we were coming up, our folks didn't take that.
No.
You almost were raised by a village. Everybody knew whose child you were. And if you were around the house playing with John or Janie or whoever, and it got in trouble, you got whipped too. And what you didn't want them to do is call your folks and tell them, for them to tell them that you've been acting up because you knew when you got home you're going to get a killing.
Yeah, but where those days look like they have long gone, and we have what we have. We have children not taking education very seriously. We have children not taking authority, not obeying authority, realizing that if you're going to move through society, and you have to, there's authority. I don't mean police. You have to succumb to being brutalized by the police, but there are authorities that you have to listen to. And, David, you have worked at this longer than most. How long, when were you first elected to elected office?
1974.
1974. That's, that's almost 50 years ago.
I had a 1 year sabbatical.
Yes. But
I ran and got defeated, and I ran again and won.
Yeah, but still, that knowledge, you didn't lose that knowledge, even though maybe you lost the seniority from the House going to the Senate, but the knowledge that you have of government and how that worked and how the state worked, you didn't lose that on that 1 year, but probably even sharper. So tell me, we know what we have to do, what we have to do in our community to turn this thing around, to make sure that we raise our children right. They go to school, they get an education, make something of themselves, provide for their families, and keep the thing going. But the politics of it, David, what they see is that the state level people these laws that they're passing to suppress the vote, and they say, well, why should I vote? Why should I be involved in politics? Because they're going to do what they want to do anyway. They're going to pass. What do you say to that?
That's not true. We've seen these races won by a few votes. They worked it in Georgia, and Georgia went blue, voted for Biden. And Stacey Abrams had a lot to do with it.
But so did Elaine Lucas and so many other people who've worked so many years in Voters League and voter registration. I give Stacey credit, but I also want to give the other people credit who I know have been working in the trenches for a long time without resources to get people registered to vote.
Well, there's no question about it, but she was able to get resources.
Yes.
She got a lot of organizations. They are led by women. They got out. And register these folks and got young folks. And what folks fail to realize is we see the Trumpers. We saw what happened to the state, to the Capitol in Washington, D.C. And what these Republicans are saying is we didn't see what we saw. It's just like George Floyd. It was videoed. Somebody had enough sense to video the thing when it was going down, a young teenager. And then we saw it all. It's not what the policeman said, but we saw it. We saw the policeman have his neck on that man, his knee on that man's neck, and pressing down, had his hands in the pocket, pressing down on that man. And the man said he couldn't breathe. All he had to do was get up off him.
Yeah. Now,
and so you know, we look at Ahmaud Arbery down in Brunswick. Same thing. I call them a bunch of vigilantes. And our problem is we've got a lot of young folks who didn't finish school, high school, for some reason or other. But we also have opportunities for them to go back and get an education, get their GED, get a high school diploma where they can go out and get a job, a job.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were in school, you left, you completed your high school diploma while you were in the service.
Yep. I sure
you
did.
Can't get in the service. You can't get in the service now. You got to have a high school diploma.
You better believe it. And I became a recruiter for the Army, and I remember I recruited for like 12 years. And I remember my last few years of recruiting, telling a young lad who probably had some good test scores, very intelligent, could pass the test to get in, but I had to look him in the face and say, no, unless you go get a high school diploma, a GED, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. So you're absolutely right. But let's get back to your what happened this past year up there. The hate crime. You got the hate crime bill passed. You got the citizen arrest thrown out, which has been around since slavery, I understand. How did that stay around? How did that citizen arrest law stay around so long to allow anybody just to arrest people?
Well, you had people who did things and were empowered to push a law that they felt that they could use, and it was basically after the Army guy in Brunswick is what really started to push to get rid of the citizen arrest. When we talk about justice and these kind of things, we talking about getting rid of the no-knock warrant.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a sheriff deputy that was on a raid, and they used a no-knock warrant, and the deputy got killed in the crossfire. And of course, one of the guys who was there, he committed suicide.
Mm.
So, and the question is, and it puzzles everybody, whether or not the deputy sheriff got caught in the crossfire between him and his own officers.
Mm.
You know, that has been a question.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had the incident at the Kroger out there on Pine Owner.
Oh my God!
With what we call Junebug.
Yeah,
and the witnesses,
he was murdered.
Yeah, and the witnesses there probably didn't want to say anything because they had a criminal record.
Yes. Yeah.
Or they might have been on probation.
Yeah, and you think about. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And so we've got to realize that black voters do matter.
Yeah.
We're in a majority black county.
Yep. Yes, we are.
And we need to vote. We need to vote just to pick leaders who think and feel like us in dealing with the community itself.
Well,
you know, the question comes, you know, all of this pandemic money. Macon got $76 million under the rescue plan. What are you going to do with it? Are citizens going to have input and be able to talk to their county commissioners? Or is it going to be a one-way street?
Well, what troubles me, David, when you said about the county commissioners, and they do a good job. I know most of them, the new ones I don't. But the mayor has basically usurped their authority by eliminating committees. Before, this money would go through the finance committee, and you would have some say. Your councilman or your commissioner would have. But now I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand he says everything is a committee on the whole. So he's like, here it is, here's the agenda, voted up and down, or hell with it.
Well, that's basically it. Well,
maybe I'm being blunt.
They had a committee on committees. That's three folks: the mayor, President Pro Tem, and then they chose Commissioner Bronson, who was brand new, and the three of them agreed to get rid of the committees on committees.
What?
They didn't have to, but then what happened then? You basically usurp the authority of those commissioners, and for them to vet these particular situations and where this money going and all that. It's a one-way street. You go to county commission meeting, and the agenda is set by the mayor, and so you either up or down. And you know that is because of consolidation.
Exactly, and let's say one right here that you were opposed to it because you said that two things you said were going to happen. You said the money is going to disappear and power is going to disappear, and both of those things is going to pass. But let's talk just briefly about this voting bill that was passed.
We call it voter suppression.
Voter suppression. People call it Jim Crow 202 or 102 or whatever. What's happening? Will any of that be overturned? We just got to live with that for the next until another.
No, we are in court with it now. That when the governor signed it, we filed actions in the courts to stop it. What they did is the election didn't turn out the way Republicans wanted it to turn out. That's all to it. And since they were in power, they decided that they would pass this bill that basically affected people of color. That's basically what it did.
In the state of Georgia, we're talking black people.
Yeah. And of course, it affects whites too. Yeah. You know, when you got a local board of elections and you turn around, you don't like the outcome of the election, you go in and you get rid of the board and you put your folks in to oversee the elections in a local community. That's basically what's happening out in Arizona. You know, they got all these ballots and everything. They're not secured, and they trying to figure out a way where they can elect Donald Trump as president of these United States.
And I understand now, judge in Georgia and Henry County has given the go-ahead for Fulton County votes to be a majority black county. They got a black chair of the county commission, most of the legislative delegation, a black mayor, and that's the one that they want to go ahead and count. So we know what that's about. But the biggest thing that's coming up, I've heard you say over the years, and I always listen to you because when you're trying to learn how to do something, you listen to people who've done it already. And I've heard you mention about politics and about reapportionment, about drawing lines, that you knew how to draw lines and you saw it with the outcome. But these same people that passed that law are going to go in special session in November of this year, according to the speaker, and they're going to draw lines. So we're going to get more of the same, or will we be able to? How will we be able to fight this gerrymandering that we?
Well, it's more of the same. We just have to fight. You know, a lot of this stuff is going to be settled in the courts, and a lot of it probably will go to the Supreme Court. And what we got to realize, good luck there, huh? Yeah, what you got to realize is that Mitch McConnell got rid of the filibuster when they appointed the two Supreme Court justices that Donald Trump wanted.
Yeah,
Donald Trump wanted. They're supposed to have been conservative. And they were Republican.
Yeah.
The problem is when you start talking about passing the George Floyd Policing Act, you got Mitch McConnell now playing games. And of course, you got the senator from West Virginia, Meacham, who's playing games also.
Yeah.
And part of the problem, question is because of the one more than they do.
Yeah.
Now they trying to keep him from just switching over and going Republican.
Yeah, David. What about another minute? But I want to ask you two questions. One, we know that like you said, they want this power back in Washington, and I understand that they're courting the Speaker Rawson to run against Warnock next year. That he would have the best chance. What are you hearing about that?
I hadn't heard anything about it. I heard that
he was in Washington last week, meeting with all the Senate leaders and the Senate re-election committee and all of that. And I understand they're really pushing him to run for that seat. They think that he can beat Warnock. What say you?
Well, I don't think he can.
Okay, good.
I don't think he can because you got to realize this thing changed not solely on black voters. There were white voters that voted.
Yeah.
That wanted to see a change with all of this stuff going on and going around, and what they've done with the police and black folks being killed and drugged. I mean, they got a case. I just saw it on MSNBC, the one in Louisiana on the Green Boy, where they got him out the car, handcuffed him, hands behind his back, shackled his legs, and then took the shackles and pulled him down the road. Pulled him down the road out in the street.
I remember that.
And the guy died.
That was a few years back.
And so we have to be vigilant. One thing I've always said to folks: if you don't know your history, then you don't know where you came from.
Yep. And you don't know where you're going.
That's absolutely right. I mean, you got a rearview mirror in a car. That's what you're supposed to have. But the reason you got that rearview mirror, so you know where you come from and which way you're going.
You can look back and see. Well, David, one thing that you have always told us, and those of us who were aspiring politicians back in the 90s, that politics is nothing more than it's about policy, about money. That politics, and even Maynard Jackson, I've heard him say that, the late Maynard Jackson, but you said money, politics is nothing but politics dictates policy. Policy dictates where money is spent. And so that's what we have now. Money is coming here, so we got the politics around it, so we got to get the policy. So we have to get the politics right in order to get good policy, what you were saying. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Now, let's 1 minute, let's talk about Joe Soul Jam again, because that's why. But we can't have the dean of elected officials all over and from the entire state on without talking politics. But let's get back. Let's wrap it up with the Soul Jam Fest. What would you like to say to people? One last to give you a 30-second commercial. We're going to give you the senator. We're going to give the senator a 60-second commercial for Soul Jam.
Well, what I like to say, come on out Sunday, May 30th. The show starts at 3:00, and hopefully we'll be through by 10:30. But it's fun. It's remembrance of those who went out and served before us to make sure that we have the freedoms that we have right now. And so it's a celebration. But more than that, we've been locked up for a year with the pandemic.
Yes.
And now people are getting out. People want to come out and enjoy themselves. And that's what Soul Jam is all about. No foolishness. Okay. No foolishness whatsoever. Because you're going to look, if you act foolish, you're going to be taken out by the sheriff.
Yeah. Is it free parking, David, by the way? Is it free parking?
No, it's not free parking.
Okay. I just want to make sure. So the church, you can park around, but if you park on that spot, you got to pay. Okay.
Well, on the spot where we are,
that's what
I used to have the school across the street, and the principal then complained about we would leave trash or something over there, and then and I used to carry insurance on in case anything happened, and of course they didn't want me there, and at the year we went there, they broke into the school and that kind of thing, and they called me about it. I told them I had nothing to do with it because I used to have a policeman sitting over there.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You own your own school board property across the street at the stadium. Why couldn't you be on school board property? And we need to talk to the superintendent too. Let me tell you, I'm not going to talk to him on the air, but I have some things to talk to him about. He's a retired colonel from the Army, but he doesn't live in this county, and I have a problem with that. I have an issue with that, and we'll deal with that later. But I have an issue with anyone representing us whether you are a county commissioner, whether you are a school board member, whether you're a superintendent, the sheriff, if you don't think enough of the county and city that you represent to live in it, you shouldn't represent it. But I'll let that go at this point. But anyway, David, let me thank you and wish you much success with your event this weekend with the Soul Jam Fest. We've been speaking with State Senator David Lucas, Senate District number 26, and he's going to entertain us. We'll make sure that we are entertained this weekend. Good, clean fun. Thanks so much, David. Senator Lucas.
Appreciate it.
God bless. Bye.
All right, thanks.
Well, as you heard, we've been speaking with Senator David Lucas, and we ask that if you, I know there's supposed to be people are supposed to be able to call in, and we wanted you to call. We still want you to call in. The number is 478-250-1444. But it's not every day, every minute, every time I come on this air, come behind this mic and get on the air, that I have an opportunity to speak with a man with so much knowledge and so much going on. Didn't even get a chance to talk about his late son, Al, who was inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame last week. Congratulations to him, even though it was posthumously. We congratulate them because he and his wife, Elaine, they raised two fine boys, and if we could look to them as role models as to how to raise children, that's the outcome. We all want to have that type of outcome with our children. I know I do. I have two daughters I raised, and raising a son in my house now, and he's a little more challenging than my daughters were, but they're doing well. I'm proud of them. Both of them have master's degrees. One is a computer engineer. The other one is a corporate bank vice president in this new bank, used to be SunTrust, I forget. But, we brag on our children because we want to brag on them, because we pour into them. And I want you to brag on your children too. I want the same for your children that I want for mine. I want them to have the same opportunity, and they can have the same opportunity unless there's some learning disabilities or something. They can have the same, but they can be all they can be. No matter what the conditions are, we can all be all we can be. Maybe we can't be what we want to be, but we can all be that we can be. As Dr. King said in one of his speeches, if you can't be that tall tree on the hill, be that shrub in the valley, but be the best little shrub. And he said, even if your station in life would call for you to sweep streets, go out and sweep those streets that no one living or dead could sweep those streets better. So in other words, whatever your station in life, just be the best that you can be, because all of us can't be doctors, all of us can't be lawyers, all of us can't be truck drivers or airplane pilots or radio talks, but there's something you can do. But you must prepare yourself. You've got to go to school. You've got to get an education. And I tell you, I got an education because I was determined to get one. My parents told me how important it was, even though early on I didn't want to listen to them because I wanted to be doing some things I wanted to do. I wanted to protest and do some other things. But you cannot make it in this world now without a good education. And those of you, I heard Elaine Lucas speak of her school. I think it's E. Lucas Academy. But maybe you did leave school early for whatever reason. There's a host of reasons. There's no opportunity, it's a great opportunity, but there's no excuse for you not to go back and get your education so people, when they look at your application and when they check there that you didn't finish high school, they put it in that stack over there that's going to go into file 13. And if those of us who've been in the military, maybe they use that term someplace else. We know what file 13 is. That's the trash can. And that's where it's going to go. So encourage grandmothers, uncles, aunts, great uncles, aunts, mothers, fathers. And look, we got to get these children in school. And we know the pandemic has set them back. It set my son back. He didn't do very well with virtual learning, but he's going to graduate this year. And go on to his next phase of life. So, but we have to work with them. Now, with this money coming here, $100 million coming from the school board, that we should be able to solve. Money can't solve all problems. Money can't make your child get up and go to school and turn on that computer. Only you can do that. Money can't make your child put down that marijuana that he or she's smoking as a 15 or 16-year-old. Only you can do that. Because I'm going to tell you, And I'm no fuddy-duddy about marijuana. I served in Vietnam for 2 years, and I've been around marijuana since I was in my early 20s, and more ways than one. But I'll tell you one thing. As a young person with their brain developing, trying to get an education and trying to be high at the same time won't work. It's not going to work scientifically. It's been scientifically proven. But by the same token, we also have to say that we know a lot of these old houses around here with all this lead paint and lead in the pipes that in these houses going into these children's body, drinking water with lead in it. We know that that's going to have an impact on their learning ability as well. But we can't solve that. It's kind of hard for us to replace pipes in our house. Now we should, with this money coming, we should be able to do some things like that. But we can educate our children as to the difficulties or the downside of smoking marijuana as a young child, because it's been proven scientifically that it impairs learning because the brain is still developing. I'm not a doctor, but I've talked to enough of them about this. And I'm not telling you a conversation I haven't had with my own son, my own children, that wait till you're 21, just like drinking beer. You can't go out to Soul Jam on you can't be 18 and come to Soul Jam on Sunday with beer. 18, you can't do it. You have 21, you can do it. So wait until you're 21. That's right around the corner. My God, I just turned 75 and 21. Just think how much time I've had to drink beer and to do everything else I wanted. You got a lot of time to do it. So let's put that stuff on hold and get these kids educated, get these guns out of their hand, and get some sense in their heads, or put a foot up their butt so that we can get back to where we have been even when we had so little and we were doing so much better. Now we have a lot and we're doing worse. Like I said, we got black radio stations, we got black newspapers, we got black state senators, we've had a black mayor, we got black clerk of the court, so now let us we have black superintendent of schools, we got black school board members. Now, what are the excuses? What are your excuses now? Let's get this thing together and let's stop this foolishness in this town, and let's take control where we are supposed to take control. Number one, in your house and in your street, in your community, and virtually the entire city. And then we'll take over the state, and as we're going to do next year with Stacey Abrams as governor, and then we'll take over the world as we're doing now so many places. When I say we, I mean right-thinking people, not just black people, but progressive people, people who are interested in doing the right thing. And here again, we have about 10 minutes left, and I need to mention my sponsors again. And you'll listen to C. Jack Ellis on the Middle Georgia Spotlight on the radio. And of course, we come on we're on TV, the Middle Georgia Spotlight on television. If you haven't tuned us in, I ask that you tune us in weekly. We are on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m., Saturday evening at 8 p.m., and on Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. And we are on Cox Cable Channel 112 here in Macon. We're on ComSouth Cable Channel 212. And we're on Watson Suburban Cable Channel 15, on Reynolds Cable Channel 112, and Flint Cable Channel 7. And if you don't have any cable, any of that, over the air, WMUB Channel 38 from Mercer University. And I'm pleased that they have allowed me to have a show there at 30 minutes that we can share information. And if you have a comment, a topic that you would like for us to discuss, or if you want to be on the show, give me a call. You can reach me at CJ Ellis 37. That's CJ Ellis 37 at yahoo.com. Or you can call me here on this show at 478-250-1444. And we would love to hear from you. And I really enjoyed speaking with Senator Lucas. He has so much wisdom, so much knowledge there to share with us about politics and other things. He's been here throughout the years. He went away to university, came back, and went to work. I went in the Army, and I was gone 28 years before I came back. But I came back the purpose of getting involved and making some things happen in my hometown that wasn't happening when I left here for me as a young boy, almost 18 years old. Because I just wasn't going to take a lot of this nonsense that were going on, sitting here, don't go here, don't go there. I just got sick and tired of it. And I decided to grab, as they say, grab my hat. And when you grab your hat, that means you're going someplace, so you don't want it to fall off. So you grab your hat, you're moving. So I want to thank all of you for joining us, and we thank our sponsors, Adams, Jordan, and Harrington, Mutual Financial Group, Dots Forget Me Not, located down on Cherry Street. As I stated earlier, my dear sister, she's younger than I am, so I call her my little sister. And when the guys used to come around when we were teenagers, I always told them, "Nah, man, you can't mess with my sister. I know you." So, but anyway, she's, and I want to give a shout out to her. No, I'm not going to do that because she doesn't want me to do that. But I hope everything is going well with her and her family today. And of course, J. Franklin Automotives. They're on Riverside Drive. Been a sponsor of mine since I've been on the air, both at WMUB over at Mercer, and now supporting me here, supporting the show, making it possible because WDDO doesn't give this airtime for free. This 1 hour is not free. Freedom is not free. Nothing is free. You got to work for it. And so we want this brother to be successful here at WDDO. It's been around a long time, WDDO. But now it's in the hands of people who look like us, not necessarily think like us, but he knows how we think. He serves this community. He wants this radio station to serve this community, not only with the gospel music, and that's very important, and the preaching and all of that, but he wants information pushed out into the community. We want information, not just entertainment. Entertainment is great. We're going to have some on Sunday. I'm going to be there. We're going to have great entertainment. But on next Wednesday, I'm going to come here and I'm going to try to provide some information from people like Senator Lucas and others who will agree to come or call in and share with you. So if you have anything that you would like to mention to us, we still have about six minutes left on the air here today. We're on every Wednesday from 4:15 to 5:15. I follow the great Elaine Lucas, and I purposely wanted to follow her because I know she has this large audience, and I wanted to come right behind her at 4 o'clock, but I tape my TV program on Wednesday as well, and it's at Mercer's, so sometimes I run over, so I said if I don't get here, I'm normally finished by 3:30, 3:45, but just in case I don't get here on time, let's give me that 15-minute break. But maybe now that I see that I can shorten it up and get here on time, so maybe we'll start next month, maybe we'll start right at maybe 4:01 when she goes off the air so that we can capture your audience, because sometimes when people go, it's hard to get them back. But I appreciate those of you who are listening, those of you who sent me emails, those of you who call me, those of you who see me on the street and say, they listen and they appreciate some of the views that I have. Maybe they don't appreciate others, but the views expressed here are mine. They're not this TV radio station. They're not our sponsors. They are mine and my guests. The views that Senator Lucas expressed, they're his views. I happen to agree with most of them. Now, he and I are going to be on the wrong side of one thing here, but we're going to talk about that later. But that's not neither here nor there. That's what politics. And in politics, sometimes you just have permanent interests. But you always want to make sure your friends always will be your friends when you get through with the debate. That's not like this vitriol that's going on. These Republicans want to tear things down and burn things down and trample over people just because they couldn't get their way. Just think if we did that, if we didn't get our way, this place would have been burned down a long time ago. But no, we're peaceful people. We believe in nonviolence. We don't believe in violence. We are followers of Dr. King. Even though Malcolm X, we love him too, but Malcolm X, if they hit me, I'm going to hit them back. And I think I'm going to do that too sometimes if they hit me. But hopefully I don't put myself in that situation that I have to react violently. So I'm going to encourage everyone to take the nonviolent act, but do something. Don't just sit passively by. You know, don't just sit by and just, they do what they want to do. Well, of course they would do what they want to do if you allow them to do what they want to do. So let's pull ourselves up by our bootstraps if you have some boots. If you don't have boots, we're going to help you get some. Because I know it's been difficult when sometimes people tell you, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you look down, I don't have any boots. And they say rising boats will lift all, rising tides will lift all boats. You say, well, about the boat that got a leak in it? Or what about if I don't have a boat? That means if the tides come up, I'm just going to drown. So we have to be cognizant of where we are in life and try to get ourselves in a better position and try to get in that boat. And don't mind rocking the boat, because you know what? How can you, those of us who swim, those of us who boat, I'm a boater. I love boating. I used to have a sailboat when I lived in the Caribbean, co-owned a sailboat, been out. So in order to get on a boat, if you're out in the water swimming, you can't get in the boat unless you rock it. So don't worry about rocking the boat. Make sure you rock it. You don't want to turn it over because you're trying to get in it. So you don't want to turn it over, but don't be afraid to rock the boat. That was a song, right? Rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby. Don't turn the boat over. I remember that one, even though we're here on WDDO, but, you know, we are that religious. We're spiritual people, and we believe in God for sure, and believe in his son, Jesus Christ, and the Prophet Muhammad, and all the rest of them. So we are not going to disrespect the WDDO Glory 980 AM, but I'm trying to get a point across here that we, if you know better, you should do better. That's what my mother always told me. And I think we know better. And if we don't know better, it's our responsibility to teach those who doesn't know better. Each one, teach one, each one, reach one. Climb, but as you climb, reach back. Bring someone along with you. And if you do that, we'll be okay. Stay safe, get the vaccine. I encourage you to get this vaccine so we can get about the business of doing what we do and being with our family and friends without worrying about infecting someone and worrying about them being in the ICU and so forth. So we all have a responsibility and we all have an obligation. And I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to sit behind this mic on Wednesday, and for you allowing me to come into your automobiles or into your homes, to wherever you are. If you're in the park, wherever you are with the radio, I hope it's on Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock to 980 AM WDDO Glory. Until next week, I'm your host, Jack Ellis. So long, everybody.
Of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
Connecting the community through gospel. The new 980 AM WDDO Perry, Macon.
Jesus a long time. I'm not tired yet. Been running for Jesus a long time. I'm not tired yet. Been working for Jesus a long time.